The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
A lot is going on, but I've seen this story on the internet through friends of mine who have been, of course, the advocates for who is Barack Obama. And there really isn't anyone better. We spoke with Jerry Corsi this morning, and this is Orly Tates. She's an attorney, and she's been in this fight. She was one of the early people, like 9 years ago, I think, was when I first met Ms. Tates, and she was talking at the time about who is Barack Obama. I know you were in a car wreck, and are you doing better? I mean, I heard that you were in a car wreck. Is that true? Maybe that's a better way to say that.
Oh, yeah, yes, it is true. Actually, I was invited by the Los Angeles Times to come for an interview for endorsement. As you know, I'm running for Attorney General, and I was just 10 minutes away from the building as a truck rear-ended my car. I was on the freeway, and it was so bad that my car started spinning, and it stopped facing the opposite of the traffic and was hit by another car as it was spinning. So I was lucky to make it. My car didn't make it. It was completely harmonica and totaled, but thank God, I'm relatively okay. I'm still going to the doctor, but I'm okay.
Good. All right, fine. You know, you have been so powerful in a powerful voice to try and figure out just exactly who this guy, Barack Obama, is. So, you know, and there are these different investigators and rooms in the internet where people spend their time. And so this story emerges, and I didn't know what to do with it, that Barack Obama was known as homosexual at one point in his high school. Now, this woman who claims that she went to high school with him, what do you do with that story?
Well, actually, this woman called me. Her name is Mia Pope. I talked to her extensively, and actually, she was on James Manning show as well. She states that, but she's not the only one. As you know, there were multiple accounts. As you know, there were two homosexual men that were parishioners in the same church in Chicago, Reverend Wright's church, that were assassinated right when Obama started his bid for president back in November, December 2007. And the mother of one of them, Donald Young, was very outspoken, and I have posted on my website, orlytatesesq.com. You can go and you can see actual video interviews of the mother who stated that she believes that her son was assassinated because of his relationship with Obama.
I know that story. I know that story.
Yes.
It's pretty out on the edge. I mean, there's the basic 101s that no one has a clue to what the truth is. And now as things start to show up, and I'm always leery. For instance, I get sent this every day. There's a picture of Columbia University, and there's a picture of Barack Obama, and it says foreign exchange student. It's an ID card.
Yes.
It's a fake. That's a fake.
Yes, and actually, I have a little more information for you on that. Dr. Drew, who I believe he has undergraduate in, I believe, political science, and then he's a PhD in psychology. He was a classmate of Obama in Occidental College, and he's a big supporter of mine. We were on the same ticket. And he told me, I specifically talked to him about this issue, that he remembers Obama in those years, and he looked and behaved together with this gentleman from Pakistan. They behaved as a couple, as a gay couple. To him, you know, look, he wasn't in the bedroom, he didn't see what's going on, but they lived together, they shared a room in the dorms, and they behaved as a gay couple, and then the guy's last name was Taduri, something like this. He went with him to Pakistan, and it was at a time where it was hard for Americans to go because General Zia-ul-Haq took over the country, and it became a very radicalized Muslim country. And he went there with no problem. So, I mean, there are multiple accounts. You know, there are there's a lot of talk about Reggie Love, whom Obama called my body man. And he was his personal assistant. He lived in the White House, looks like in the bedroom next to Obama's. And even after...
Yeah, I know the body man story. But let me come back to this woman that now appears and said she went to high school with him. And
No, she did not go to the same high school, but she said that she over the summer she was hanging out with Obama and others.
All right, but she claims what was Obama, as she claims, in high school at that time.
Mm-hmm.
He was. And,
yes, that he was gay.
Okay, then all right, that he was gay, and she knew him when he was in high school.
Yes, and also if you look at all his friends in this chum club, and as a matter of fact, in his yearbook, he is thinking of his buddies from this chum club. I believe most of them, if not all of them, are gay men. So it seems that it was a club of young gay men who were also smoking marijuana and maybe taking other drugs. I'm not quite sure.
Well, it's such a twisted story, and I don't know what to do with things like this. The reason is because we have no idea what the real truth is, and these people and they've popped up before to make charges that Barack Obama may be bisexual. And
yes, absolutely.
What a thing to say, but it has been said. It has been said by other people before.
Well, what is even more worrisome that a number of those young men who were linked to Obama ended up being dead. We're talking Larry Bland, Donald Young, also a young man by the name Alex Ockrent who worked for Obama's campaign. So it is a concern. Now, recently, as you know...
If I could slow you down, if I could just slow you down again. When I was first chasing the story, do you know Larry Sinclair?
Of course.
Yeah, Larry Sinclair, for the folks that don't know this, and maybe, I hesitate to do this, but I may have to. Larry Sinclair claims that he was contacted in, I think, 2007 by a guy by the name of Donald Young. I'm going to have to go back to my notes to be with you this morning. Donald Young happened to be the gay choir director at that church, at Reverend Wright's church. And he shared information. He says Larry Sinclair claimed that Donald Young shared information with him about Obama, and Young was murdered in right before Christmas in 2007. And then Larry Bland, this other gay member of the church, who also was murdered, happened to be a former PLO operative. And this is honest to God, you guys. Those are harsh critics of Israel, advocate of Palestinian rights. Now, Obama claims he doesn't even know that guy, even though the Obamas had dined more than once at the home of Khalid, and you know that story. And
absolutely.
I mean, so what am I supposed to think? What's somebody supposed to think about this? I mean, that's a hell of a thing to say.
It is very worrisome, and we're seeing just as we've seen during Clinton administration, bodies piling up, and of course our law enforcement is doing absolutely nothing on that. Talking about bodies piling up. As you know, I have 5 cases against Obama, and recently there was a filing by the Democratic Party where they sought to replace Loretta Fuddy with Linda Rose. Loretta Fuddy, as you know, was the director of health who died in a plane accident, or so they say. And Linda Rose was a new person. And, of course, I oppose it because one of the causes of action is RICO. It's Racketeering Influence Corrupt Organization.
Yeah, sure.
And Fadi signed those papers, supposedly signed. We've seen only a copy. We haven't seen the original. So basically what they did here, all the loose ends were tied, and now there is a new person. But what else is interesting is that we were waiting for the autopsy report. It was not coming. And by the way, NTSB report is not ready either. And there was a report by one Jennifer Cinca Keheller, AP reporter, stating that Fadi died of arrhythmia, that was the finding by the medical examiner. And typically, arrhythmia is something that you can see on a stress test, on EKG.
Yeah.
You do not see it in when you do autopsy. It's more of a physiological problem. You don't see lasting pathology like you would see with myocardial infarction. So a number of individuals were investigating this, and one of the researchers has contacted this Jennifer Keheller, and asked her for a copy of this autopsy report. And, of course, she did not provide it. No. And she said, well, just contact the Maui Police Department. They're going to provide it for you. At which point I actually got involved, and I wrote to the same reporter stating, well, as you well know, Maui Police Department demands a signed release, a signed consent by the next of kin of the deceased. And we do not know of any next of kin who signed such a consent. Yeah. Can you please show us a copy of the signed consent that you released and provide us with the name of the relative? Yeah. At which point this reporter disappeared. Yeah. Nobody heard from her again. So at this point, we believe that she did not have any report. And actually, I got an email, a comment on my website from one of known Obama operatives stating, well, she didn't actually see the autopsy report. She based her article on what was told by the police department. So we don't know if autopsy report even exists, if it was ever signed by Dr. Harley, the medical examiner on Maui, and if it does exist and it was signed by medical examiner, what exactly does it state? So we are uncovering fraud upon fraud in this matter, and I'm waiting for a decision of a judge in this case. And, of course, as you know, I have one case in D.C. dealing with a fabricated selective service registration with a fabricated postal stamp, and another in Maryland in regards to his stolen Social Security number. And just recently, I got an email from somebody who claims to be an employee of Google, stating that he works in a department where they prepare, those reports of hits, of popularity of specific websites. And those are important because advertisers would pay you based on your popularity of your website or how many hits you have, and if they downgrade your popularity, you do not get advertising dollars. And two, it's basically your standing in the community, your name, and they're trying to say, well, people who pursue this issue are crazy, nobody listens to them.
Well, there's so much. I mean, we'll pause one more time here. Hang on. It is 11 after 8, 8:11. Good morning, everyone. It's a Wednesday. Peter Boyle, 710 KNUS with Orly Tates. Now, for those of us who are so drawn into the story of Barack Obama, and who, in fact, is Barack Obama. And there have been people for a number of years who have been suggesting that Obama lived a bisexual life. And, I mean, that's one hell of a charge to make. I mean, but see, when you don't know anything, then anything goes. If you don't have any truth, then anything is the truth. So, purportedly, and there have been these different people, one in particular that I remember, and I talked to him at great length, a guy by the name of Larry Sinclair. And like I say, he's one of those do what you want to do with guys. But what's interesting is, no one has ever said Larry Sinclair was wrong. They just ignore Larry Sinclair. And so now this woman has shown up and makes similar charges apparently about Obama in high school. Now, again, these are, I don't know what that would even what would happen in a courtroom.
Oh, you know what, Peter? You should interview Bettina Viviano. She's a Hollywood producer, and as a matter of fact, when I just started this journey, She and a woman by name Gigi Gaston, a Hollywood director, have helped me. They stated that they went to Chicago during the Democratic National Convention in 2008, and they mingled with people who were delegates. They went to a number of bars, and everyone was telling them openly that it's kind of open secret that Obama has a gay relation.
But again, here we are when you know nothing and we know nothing, so that no truth is known, so all truth will fly.
Yes.
It doesn't matter. At the same time, it's fascinating. And it's, who is this guy? And that's really the legitimate question is, who is this guy? And
well, here's another interesting fact. I looked up on the internet, I think it was in Ancestry.com, and there are a number of sites where you can see all kinds of old documents. And you can easily find documents on Bush daughters. For example, there is mention of a birth certificate for Jenna Bush, for her marriage certificate, I've seen marriage certificate of Chelsea Clinton. We could not find any documents on the daughters of Barack Obama. And I was contacted by one of my supporters who stated that she used to work for the U.S. Embassy in Morocco. And she swears that the younger girl of Obama's was adopted in Morocco.
Yeah, but see, look what it does. I mean, it's... And one of the reasons when it gets too wide and too crazy, you have to, or I think in my estimation, you have to rein this in and say, does it get too nuts? Does it get too crazy? Does it get too far out there that instead of focusing, and that's why I've never talked about this, we had Larry Sinclair on the radio show years ago, but I've never talked about this because I think it just gets too nuts. But at the same time, and I leave you with the question, who is this guy? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. You and I, and we could get 25 people in one room and talk about 25 people I respect about who is Barack Obama. And I don't think you could give the same answer. I don't think anyone would know. I think people would have guesses, educated guesses predicated on what little documentation we have compared to the life story that's told. Well, we know this much. Every bit of the life story that's told to a high degree of probability is not true.
Absolutely. No, not one single valid ID.
None of it. No.
We see invalid selective service registration, invalid birth certificate, invalid Social Security number.
We get down a list of things, and they're not.
And let me tell you, there are only basically just two basic IDs, your birth certificate and your Social Security number. And the rest of the IDs are called secondary IDs. They're based on these two. So if those two are not valid, he has nothing. This man does not have one valid piece of paper. And I came from the Soviet Union, as you know, and I see the actions by Vladimir Putin, and I can tell you, I can understand where he is coming from. He sees Obama as a Manchurian candidate in the United States presidency in the White House. He sees, and that's what is worrisome. Not only that we don't know a lot about Obama, and everything that we know is extremely worrisome, extremely frightening, and it shows that this man can cause enormous damage to this nation. He has given orders to unilaterally reduce our nuclear arsenal. He has given orders to discontinue production of Tomahawk missiles, a very important weapon in U.S. arsenal. He purged the military of top officers, some 200 officers. He made it into gay and lesbian sing and dance club instead of a well-trained military. And it's extremely worrisome. And not talking about the fact that he destroyed the U.S. economy by doubling its debt, incurring $7 trillion worth of debt in 5 short years. What worries
the stories,
me...
it goes and it goes and it goes and it goes. Ms. Tates, I am at my break. I wanted you to talk about, and do you believe this woman who has now shown up, do you believe the story she's telling?
Yeah, I do believe her. I talked to her extensively. I do believe she's telling the truth.
Do you believe Larry Sinclair?
No. Well, I mean, let me tell you with Larry Sinclair, I do believe that he had an encounter with Donald Young.
Yeah.
But I had a really bad experience with Larry Sinclair.
Yeah, I've had one too. He's a weird guy.
Yeah.
And so I never brought him up again, but here this morning we're talking, so this guy does exist, Larry Sinclair.
I mean, he does have an extensive criminal record. He was telling things that were not true.
Yeah,
so he is not the best witness, let's put it this way. But I do believe Mia Pope. I do believe all the other evidence that we have.
Okay.
Also, just recently, we've seen an autopsy report of Miriam Carey, and this is an African-American young woman who tried to get into, actually to go and see Obama, go to the White House.
Oh, yeah.
And
that's a crazy story.
With a newborn, and she was assassinated,
she was killed,
shot in the head.
That is a crazy story. And they killed her. Yeah, they really did kill her.
Yeah, they assassinated. This unarmed young woman with a baby was assassinated, shot multiple times in the back of the head.
Yeah, she was,
That's assassination.
Yeah.
She was not posing threat to anybody.
No.
And the family is now demanding a paternity test because she was saying that she has some links to Obama.
Baby. I need to cut it here, but I know that story as well. Orly, as always, I'm glad you're well. Thank you so much for doing a radio show, and I know we'll be talking next week. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.